Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. So anytime we say anything negative or, well, today we're actually going to have a different format, but let's just say anytime you hear this sound, that means that we have to take a drink, and we hope you drink along with us. Choose a side in our special A date. Our special debate edition of our podcast to determine, was it really that bad for the Toxic Avenger? Stay tuned,
really
film
that
fans.
bad?
Yeah,
All
so we still have our special guest. If you joined us for the Monday episode where we were talking about George Lucas's American Graffiti, we are still joined in our midweek episode by Matt Gilbert, co-host of
Who has
the
no
Matt and
idea
Mark
what's about to
Movie
hit him.
Show.
Thank you for having me
back,
again, gentlemen. Thank you.
Oh, welcome back, dude. Real fast, just tell us just one more time for our listeners who maybe were stupid, fuck you guys, and didn't listen to the Monday episode.
You can't say fuck you to the listeners. We've talked about this.
I can tell them who
They're here now. You know, it's like, welcome to the show. It's so good to have
For
you.
those of you listening, I buzzed that
they're used to me.
motherfucker. Yeah.
They're
That's
used
a
to me
buzz.
telling them to go fuck them. So I'm going to drink.
No, they're
over
not.
this.
Not
Matt,
if they're new.
All right. Matt, tell us about your show really fast, and then we'll get to fucking.
Okay, fuckers. Well, you can come and check me out at the Matt and Mark Movie Show, where I run a podcast with my good buddy Mark Monstrosky. We've known each other for 20 years, and in that 20 years, all we've done is watch movies and talk movies. And our podcast is sort of like if you had 20% movie reviews and about 80% old man tangent, old man yells at cloud. We've also been described as if your two younger little brothers started a podcast. You're like, what are those little fuckers doing?
Oh, that's right.
Running a fire
With old man tangents. Pretty
with
fun.
old man
like
tangents.
that
We're
one.
young old.
All right. So
I know
today,
you do.
friends, actually, I'm going to introduce this really quick because I actually we were looking for movies for our new segments. Was it really that bad? Which was sort of an old segment, but we were just looking for new movies and then should have seen that by now. And I actually submit The Toxic Avenger in should have seen that by now because I saw the musical and I know it's a huge like 80s comedy horror movie. And I was like, well, maybe I probably should have seen this. I'm also from New Jersey. More on that later. So I was like, well, maybe I should have seen this by now. And then somehow you guys reallocated this. you guys reallocated this into was it really that bad? Which I was going to make the joke, like, I don't know which category this was in, and I still don't know which category this is in. Should I have seen this by now, or was it really that bad? I don't know. We're going to decide tonight. Yeah, great.
I feel like
yes.
you need to now renounce your New Jersey citizenship for not having seen The Toxic Avenger.
All right. Touche. Don't know how to respond to that, but Dave, why don't we let you introduce our format for how we are going to approach The Toxic Avenger?
All right. So, yeah, you've heard Was It Really That Bad before, but now we did this once on our Halloween show last year and it was a big hit. So we're going to do this debate format. So Matt, our guest, is going to be on the positive side. Everyone else, basically, we are about to hit a button that's going to randomly select roles for the positive, the negative, and a moderator. And we don't know which one is coming.
That's right.
So
I actually forgot that I could be a moderator.
Yeah,
I thought that I would.
At this point, it could be any of us.
I forgot that Dave has given up moderator duties. Now that I have this buzzer, like this, for instance. I forgot that I could do that now, so that now I could be a moderator. I love that. Well, let's just say, before we get into this, Matt, can you just introduce your experience with the Trauma-verse?
Yes. It started as a little kid, funny enough, with the Toxic Crusaders cartoon. I had no idea what Trauma was.
Yeah.
And that's how I became familiar with them. There was a Toxic video game on Sega. There was action figures and lunchboxes. Anyway, flash forward to my college years, and I discover Trauma and Lloyd Kaufman and all of the amazing depravities within. And I feel like Toxic Avenger for Trauma, he's like Trauma's Mickey Mouse. So he's sort of your introduction. He's sort of your big master of ceremony. So if you do anything Trauma, the Toxic Avenger is there. So yeah, he was, I think, the first 2 or 3 Trauma movies I watched were Toxie 1, 2, and 3, all in a row.
We call him Toxie.
From Toxic Avenger, yes.
Yeah.
And just in case anybody is very, very green, when we say Trauma, where did that name come from? Let's just
So Trauma is the studio that puts out the Toxic Avenger and other movies. Trauma is sort of a genre unto itself. It's run by Lloyd Kaufman and his partner Michael Hers. They met at Yale. It is.
Yale.
Wait, they
I
went to
hate-
Yale?
They,
Yes.
they both went to Yale. And in fact,
Trauma
Lloyd
house for
Kaufman
Yale.
is very well read. He's a big Shakespeare fan. And you can see a Shakespearean. I'm not even kidding. There have been Shakespearean trauma movies. There's Romeo and Juliet. He's making a new one called Shakespeare's Shitstorm, which is The Tempest. And I think probably involves literal shit if I know Lloyd.
Yeah, yep.
Right. And Toxic Avenger came first.
Toxic
It did.
Avenger was, well, yeah, it was the first, I think, all original trauma movie, because before that they had only made acquisitions, and they were like teen sex comedies like Squeeze Play, Come Get Some, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this was their
This
first
kind
foray
of
into
put
movie.
trauma really on the map. Fun fact, I believe James Gunn was affiliated with Trauma for some time.
James Gunn did a lot of the writing for Trauma. He actually wrote Romeo and Juliet, and I believe he kind of ghost wrote a couple other movies. Lloyd is really shifty when it comes to credits. But a lot of directors, James Gunn came out of there, and recently Joe Lynch, who did Everly, Mayhem, and a couple other movies. He's also from that Trauma camp. They sort of escaped Trauma and became legitimate mainstream directors.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we do the description now, and then we'll assign the parts. So I think we've already gotten the staff, so to speak, writers, directors, Michael Hertz and Lloyd Kaufman. You also have Joe Ritter and others with writing credits. The short IMDb synopsis is Traumaville, New Jersey, has a monstrous new hero. The Toxic Avenger is born when meek mop boy Melvin falls into a vat of toxic waste. Now evil
Alliteration is always sexy.
With these reviews, can you just tell us what this movie's about, right? Now evildoers will have a lot to lose. That is the general synopsis. I think that's enough to get us going. Melvin works at a fitness club, which apparently is the sexiest health club of all time, where everybody walks around in almost nothing, barefoot, swimming, and doing it in the sauna, and everybody's picking on him in the strangest, most bizarre ways I've ever seen in my life. Oh, we haven't started yet. And
those of us on the West Coast, you're going to recognize a couple of these locations.
Anyway, he gets pranked and somehow ends up in a vat of toxic waste, which turns into a 7-foot benevolent monster, and then he kicks some ass. That is the Toxic Avenger, set in my hometown of New Jersey, which was very distinctly chosen for this, where they're talking about sewage waste and runoff and shit and whatever. Okay.
And yet, a lot of it was filmed in Astoria.
Nice.
I feel like.
Oh.
Like, I recognize some of the locations there.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Anyway, let's do it, dude. Let's fucking assign my role. I'm ready to rock.
All right, so
let's do it.
we're going to randomly assign the roles. Oh, wow. Okay. John, you're positive.
Oh,
Nice.
yes.
Jeff, you are moderator.
I thought it was going to happen. I
and
felt
I
it.
am negative.
Wow.
Okay, so
Okay.
Dave is our...
Trauma fans, don't come at me. I'm doing this under duress, okay? So
You better be constructive with your negative criticism, motherfucker.
So Dave is our lone negative.
yes.
John and Matt are both our positives.
Yes. So basically the rules are positive can only say positive things about the film. Negative gets a buzz. Negative can only say negative things about the film. Positive gets a buzz.
All right. I want this full
Also,
debate style.
If the argument
Go
is
ahead.
bullshit, Jeff can call us out and buzz anyone. And
All right.
Nice.
we can just
Wow.
buzz Jeff whenever we feel like it.
Yeah, you can buzz
Okay.
me whenever, because I'm ready to drink. Okay, friends. Okay.
Jeff!
Okay, I didn't mean literally.
All right. Friends, we are talking about the Toxic Avenger.
I made that rule up.
Matt, you are, let's just say you are the captain of the positive team. Sorry, John. And then
I'm the
Dave,
captain.
Yeah, no. Please,
Yeah.
please.
Dave, the rest of your team is lost in dodgeball, and you're the lone person hoping that they throw the ball right at you so you can catch
Yeah, I
it.
can catch
Here
it.
we go.
I'm also
Matt,
wearing my GIMP outfit.
Matt, by the way, this movie's 122 minutes. It's sort of available for free if you want to go look up some weird, like some kind of strange Eastern European subtitled version of this, or you can rent this on
Oh, you
YouTube.
didn't.
Matt, did you rewatch this
The
week?
Latvian.
I
version of
absolutely
this.
rewatched. the
Okay,
Toxic
what was your initial reaction upon rewatching this film this week? What
I
went
was
through
like,
your head?
You know what I love about this movie is it's not a comedy movie. It's not a horror movie. You know what it is? It's a slasher movie. It's a superhero movie. It's a monster movie all rolled into one. And I was like, you know how precious that is? We only have one other movie like that. That's Darkman, which is another amazing cult classic, by the way. But
That's
I was
flying
like,
to us.
Oh, God damn it.
Oh,
Dave!
you bastard!
I'm moderating this, you ass.
That's
Dave, what the
Dave,
fuck?
motherfucker. Yeah.
Dave, we're like,
Little love for Dark Man?
we're like
Come
6
on.
minutes into this podcast and people are already going, what the? Dave, easy.
All right. I broke the rules. I'll drink.
No, I liked it.
Matt,
Keep
I'm
going,
so
Matt.
sorry. You are a special guest, and apparently you are just a prop for our buzzer. We are deeply apologetic.
I like it. You know what? It's making me feel like part of the family. You know,
Okay.
Embrace me. I want to be in the Facebook group. I want the weird memes. Put me in.
All the
I'm liking
things,
it.
All right.
yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
go ahead.
these were my impressions. That it's aged beautifully. I think if anything, it's aged way better than the sequels have. It still feels like
this.
a classic trauma film.
Who are we buzzing? I'm buzzing myself for that one for laughing at this because he just said it A's better than the sequels.
And it did definitely age better than the sequels.
What is
I
this, a
think
comparative?
if you want a cult movie, if you want like the definitive, like, hey, I'm here for a midnight movie, you cannot do wrong with the Toxic Avenger.
All right, well, I can't buzz that even though I might disagree. But Dave, can you rebut or should we skip you? Do you have a rebuttal to that?
No, it comes up with a warning at the beginning of the film saying, like, this movie contains scenes of gore. It may as well say we're not fucking around here. But I want to say this is the classic example of where they've done things in slightly the wrong order, where you do the movie and then go to acting school. So
He's negative. I can't buzz him. He's negative.
Oh, I think you can bust it.
I'm so sorry.
No, I don't know. I'm gushing Dave because that was so negative. That's worthy of a gush for his side.
Look, you say bad acting, but in Trauma, that's just how the people of Traumaville are. Everything in
That's how
Trauma
they
is
talk.
hyper exaggerated, over the top. It's
Yeah.
like
It's
truck
real to
drivers
them.
aren't just driving trucks; they're also doing cocaine out of a giant Ziploc bag.
With
That's
toxic
Traumaville.
waste in the back.
That's right. That's Traumaville. So
We
they're
need to take a
acting
quick
normal.
cocaine break from our route.
Yeah. Now, if this were like in some other neighborhood, like if it flashed by the sign and said Boston, whatever, I'd be like, hey, these people are acting bad. But they're in Traumaville. They're acting like trauma citizens, I think.
Well,
Sure,
it's funny you
sure.
shoid say some other neighborhood because my wife, I watched it with her and we had a movie
did?
night and we're sitting there.
Mine went and read a book on Friday night, so go ahead.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, I haven't seen you in a couple of days. We'll watch the movie together." And I want to say 10 minutes in, she turns to me and goes, "Oh, it's Staten Island."
Yeah.
I'm gushing Dave. I'm gushing Dave because the hate on Staten Island is just, I love that from the negative side. Because
Yeah.
everybody from New Jersey, there's one thing we can get behind, and it's not even Philly sports versus Boston sports. It's fuck Staten Island. We just don't get it. We don't get it. John, you're okay. Sorry, Staten Island. John, your rebut. I almost went to Wagner College. So okay, John, your rebuttal to whatever Dave just said.
I think I'm gonna echo my team leader here and say the thing I could not get out of my mind when I was watching this was, God damn it, I wish I was in a drive-in. Like, I feel like this was the most iconic, like, silly slasher.
To buzz
I think
John
they-
because he just said I wish it was better. So there you go.
Okay, moderator's being brutal.
He is being brutal. Honestly, you guys, we watched Neon Demons.
Neon
Is that what it was
Maniacs.
called? Neon Maniacs for Marcus.
John.
Yeah, sure. Fine.
You know what, Jeff? You're not immune. I got one of these too.
Yeah. Go
I'm
fuck
not
it.
saying a goddamn thing, John.
I just felt like this was like exactly what I have been hearing people talk about in the horror community. I tend to enjoy more sincere films, and I tend to stay away from this stuff. And being a hardcore horror fan, I feel like I've missed like 80% of the genre. And I think this was such a perfect introduction into this kind of campy style, a very knowledgeable, like they know what they're doing campy style. And I enjoyed every 122 minutes of it. I felt like it was the most perfect version of exactly what you said: slasher, horror, monster, superhero. It was all rolled into one. It did not take itself too seriously. So if you were sitting there and you were watching this in a group, no one would feel the pressure to be upset because people were talking in the movie theater or anything like that. I think it was pure fun the entire time. And I thought the
Do you think so?
acting was
So, okay,
Juilliard quality.
What?
Get out of
I thought
Here,
this shit-
here,
my
here,
opponent-
here to John.
what
I don't
my
need a buzzer. I'm
opponent-
just going to
yeah.
drink to my teammate.
What
Nice
my
work,
opponent
sir.
is saying is they wouldn't be too bothered if they missed the entire movie talking about something else. At this
No.
point.
No, we're saying that the
You're ripping
crowd
your teammate,
interaction's
not the
all part
movie.
of it. The crowd interaction's all
Yes.
part of
Okay.
it. As is crowd pleasing, they're exciting, they're talking, people are enjoying it.
Okay, I want to get into one thing that John said. I'm going to turn it right over to his teammate Matt and hope that he does a Washington, D.C. style accidentally flip on your own side and not realize it and still never change your opinions. Okay, Matt, John just said
Now that he's
horror.
ready for
Is
it.
this really defend this being a horror movie and not a comedy?
Well, there are slasher scenes. Toxie is not only driven by needing to right the wrongs in Tromaville, he also has a bloodlust for the people that transformed him into this hideous creature. So he tracks down Bozo's girlfriend, Slug's girlfriend, and murders them brutally. And those are shot like slasher movies. So I would argue that it's made like a horror movie. He's even like Frankenstein's monster, a classic horror icon. You know, you have these disgusting transformations, body horror right there. It reads to me like a horror movie.
Wow.
Thank you.
Good answer.
Washington, D.C., ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
Jesus.
I would say that often comedy is unintentional.
Dave is brutal. Holy God.
Dave, we're talking
Dave, you're
about the
doing such a good
movie.
job. Dave, you're
Dave,
doing, no,
again,
this
I'm
is
so
Dave,
such
just
a
a
good
reminder,
job.
we're
so
talking
sorry.
about the film, The Toxic Avenger. We're not just using this as an excuse to lash out against.
Can I ask a question?
Dave
the
has
movie.
an agenda against Toxie and the people of Tromaville, I think.
I want to ask a question, and as part of the positive
At the risk-
team,
at the
I don't
risk of
think I've
getting-
ever seen.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen more realistic portrayal of toxic waste than the green sludge that Toxie falls into. And I was just curious if anyone knew what that was made of.
I don't know.
Do you
I'll ask
know?
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, it looks like
Oh,
yeah, it looks like the
come
Nickelodeon slime.
It's way chunkier
We're
than
just only
slime.
buzzing Dave today.
It's made of the bones and bile of Mark
I'm
Summers
supposed
and
to
the
be
entire
negative. What are you
Double
doing?
Dare set.
Mark Summers, nice shout out. But wait, how do they get it to bubble like that? And what is up with that? Why do we need two drivers for this truck?
Because it's Tromaville. I think that's so one guy can do the coke and the other guy can hold the wheel, maybe.
I think.
Yes,
No, but wait. That they're not Tromaville residents. They're passing through Tromaville, and they were told not to stop. So they actually have nothing to do with Tromaville, which is it's like they're bringing this this madness into Troma, right? Isn't that part of the plot?
Yes, yeah, it is part of the
Ready?
plot,
But
but
I'm
it's
about
not.
to-
It's not clear where they're coming from. They could be Troma. Okay, I'm gonna drink that.
I'm about to-
They're probably
Are you
coming
ready for
from
this
like
one?
Hackensack or something. Okay, John.
Oh,
the genius of Lloyd Kaufman though is that I felt like there was never a time when anyone was completely isolated. Even when somebody was alone in a scene, you always understood when somebody was approaching them or not. So I do think that this movie completely embodied the sense of how to invite the audience into every scene. Nobody was ever isolated.
You don't need to speak in platitudes every time we talk about this.
No. This is
It's like this is
I
the
think you just touched on-
greatest depiction of
No, I
Health Club
touched on,
fitness of all time.
One of the
John
real gems- one of the
Tromaville
real gems
appreciates
of the
that.
show.
It's humanity
Yeah.
that you're calling out,
No,
and
that
that's what
was-
Tromaville is.
That's
All right,
all
I
it is,
I feel like I'm running for city councilman of Tromaville, actually.
And hold on, wait,
Speaking
I
of
want to
that-
push back. I'm going to push back against my moderator for just a second. I did feel like one of the most obvious horror elements that I was kind of like, wow, they're really going for it, is the hit and run sequences. That's Stephen King stuff.
Yeah.
These two
Yeah.
high school
Yeah,
guys
that-
who are
that's like Death
obsessed
Race
with running
2000.
down innocent people.
It is
Yeah.
like
And they
Death Race
don't
2000.
they don't shy
That
away.
bothered
When
me.
that kid gets squashed, he gets squashed. And by the way, if you're a
Yes.
squeamish person who doesn't like animal horror, there is one moment I have to cover up my eyes. I cannot see the dog getting
that is
hurt.
that
I
is
hate
the most complaints Troma ever got. Was that one scene?
yeah. It's
Oh.
something that's unfortunate. That's there.
It's also it's a blind girl's dog.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I mean that
Again,
is really
yeah.
shameless.
it's
of
really
these filmmakers.
I mean that is a case of we're just gonna do that, and I guess that might have inspired John Wick.
Dave, if you
Thank you. Yes,
Hey, that sounds
there would
like a
be no
positive
John
criticism.
Wick without the toxic.
Yeah.
Avenger.
Yeah.
That sounds
John
positive,
Wick is one of my
right?
favorite franchises of all time. Maybe forget.
Of all time, dude. Is that what you're
Dave,
saying? The-
David,
Yes.
Dave, if you were a stuntman, would you set yourself on fire for this movie?
I mean, the thing I love about that scene is that like they blocked off a street, obviously, but there's like two very contained groups of people standing there watching this guy burn to fucking death and enjoying it. It's like, oh shit, this guy's on fire. Let's take pictures, and yeah, it's
Actually, I do have a serious question for you guys are big film people here. So Melvin, the character of Melvin, as they said, is a 90 pounds of nerd.
Yes.
I believe is what they call him. And he is, your typical, your
That's being generous.
stereotypical, like 70s, 80s nerd, skinny, geeky, useless physically, loves hot girls. Apparently every single like nerdy guy just assumes that when a hot girl talks to them for a second that they might be able
Have
to
you
score
seen
with
Revenge
them,
of the Nerds?
I've seen both of them because they were always on TV growing up. But my
There were
question
3
is,
of them.
what do you, oh, there, okay, I'll buzz myself. That's fine. Okay. My question is, let's talk about Melvin a little bit, because Melvin, as Matt mentioned, the revenge elements everybody can relate to. So positive. So talk to me a little bit about Melvin. What do you guys think about Melvin?
John, do you want to take this or should I jump in?
I do want to take it. The greatest part about Melvin is his voiceover. Is the voiceover that rescues. Honestly, I'm not being sarcastic here. I thought one of the most fun elements in this movie is that they almost entirely keep the Toxic Avenger, Toxie, facing away from camera. So they create this awesome opportunity to do this hilarious voiceover of Melvin transformed into a larger, more confident, version of himself. And I think it was, aside from I loved Melvin as the nerd, but the clarity, the articulate, prowess that he had as the Avenger, I thought it was so funny. I did not see that coming. I did not think they were going to do anything. I had no idea where that was coming from.
That's a different
and I laughed
guy.
every time he spoke. Of course it is, but it's still
he's
Melvin.
7 feet tall,
still, it's still the character, right? Matt,
it's a voice becoming of a hideously deformed creatures of superhuman size and strength.
Yeah.
It's cool because when Melvin does transform, you're right, and the toxic waste makes him a little more articulate. He's able to voice his feelings and his emotions a little better, whereas Melvin just kind of like through every scene. Yeah.
And let's give it up. I don't know if I would have had the courage to, after having kissed a sheep in drag, to jump out of a window and commit suicide. That takes a lot of courage, and I think Melvin showed us all that.
Was he committing suicide, or was he just
he jumped out a fucking window on the first floor, Jeff? Yes.
Did he do it intentionally, or was it a little bit like Chubbs when Chubbs sees the alligator? I didn't think he meant to kill him. First of all, it's the second floor, so it's not like.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I went Australian. We call it the first floor because it's not ground.
Right.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly. I think he was committing suicide. I think he's
to Australia.
Buzz me for my nationality. What?
Wait, did John just say you're showing courage? Okay, wait. Here's my question.
I was going to say, where's that? Somebody grab that. Jesus
John.
Christ.
So Melvin goes into toxic waste so that he can become the Toxic Avenger. Why did you do it?
Why did I become? Are you outing me as the Toxic Avenger?
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
No.
What?
It just looks.
What
so
is the
inviting.
most?
It's
what
not
is the most?
slime.
Is
you get?
There are a lot of
Avenger
love scenes
from
in this.
Toxic waste, not mushrooms.
There are a lot of. There are a lot of love scenes in this. Can somebody here talk about the correlation between the
I can't back
I don't want to say I don't want to say gratuitous sex, but the crazy amount of sexuality that's in films like these in the comedy horror genre, which I know like the 90s did it differently, and like we were kind of prudish in the 90s, but in the 80s they were so shameless with this kind of stuff, and none of them ever worked again. So talk to me a little bit about that. I would love to hear more about that, because
we got to sell. I think we got to sell tickets and videotapes. So I think nudity goes to the top of the list. I also think, as you said, in the 80s, nudity sort of comes with your slasher movie or your sex comedy, whichever you're trying to make. And with Trauma, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I mean, they'd just come out of the 70s. So, like, we had Screwballs and Porkies and all those sort of things.
Yeah.
So,
and it's also kind of cool, too, because you have, this disgusting, deformed, toxic Avenger, right? You want to see some nice looking people, too, to sort of have that contrast, I think. I think there's an artistic choice there, is what I'm saying.
Hey, don't forget about Mayor Peter Bellgoody. He's pretty naked in some of those massage scenes. That man,
dude, I'm so glad you brought up the mayor. I cannot believe they predicted Chris Christie.
Oh, that was actually good.
That was really good.
I'm not supposed to agree with the negative team, but I thought that was funny.
You're right, touche. You know what? I do too. So I'll keep it. So Toxie, aka the Toxic Avenger, a post monster. two things about him. Number one, he rips off a guy's arm and uses it as a weapon to fight other people with. What was the craziest thing you guys have ever used as a weapon to
That's my favorite scene in the film. I'm sorry.
It's amazing. All the amazing ways that he offs those thugs I love that the taco place is just called the Mexican place. And he fries one guy's hands, rips the other guy's arm off.
Yeah.
He turns one guy into a human milkshake. And by the way, I think Chris Nolan has some explaining to do. That stood out to me today because the first thing the thug says when he comes through the door is, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are tonight's entertainment."
I know. I thought about that too. Yeah.
Joker says that.
Chris Nolan
Actually,
stealing from the best.
I'm so glad you brought up the milkshake. The guy who was had his teeth ground out by the milkshake maker was miraculously reincarnated 3 scenes later.
Oh my God!
He did. He had
when they're
done.
forming the circle and Toxie's in the middle and there's those 6 guys with the shotguns. One of the guys is the guy who died 2 scenes earlier.
I'm just saying, there's no proof that guy wasn't a twin. He could have been a twin. Anything's possible.
I mean, he's
Yeah, I
also
think he's
there's
got
no proof
rest.
he died. I guess he just lost a lot of fucking teeth, but it's the same guy.
It's
Honestly,
the same guy,
pretty
but
good.
that's how tough the thugs are in Tromaville. They take a beating and they come back the next night, ready to plow their trade
God,
again.
I'm not
That's
gonna
right.
win
That's
this.
right.
I'm not gonna
While
win
the
this.
monster's there. Wait, but let's talk. Let's talk a little bit more about the Batman effect. Now that somebody put Christopher Nolan's name into this, for
I said Chris
you know what?
Christie. Yeah.
No, we also had Chris Nolan. So for all, that's an all of us drink because that's so crazy. Because we mentioned the Christopher Nolan with the Joker and the Batman scenes. So the whole let me see if I got this right. So the 90-pound nerd who was a little geeky and everybody was literally doing vicious pranks, including kissing a cross-dressing lamb,
Which apparently turned out to be lice infested.
Yes, and of course our star did not know that until after he
Yes.
kissed the lamb and probably got lice, I assume. Okay, so why is it that Melvin, who is on a vengeance mission to get all the people, and he does go after all the people who pranked him, why does he turn into Batman and just start going after petty crimes too? Where did that cross happen? Let's have an open debate, positive and negative. When did Melvin turn into Batman? Let's start with John. John, when did Melvin turn into Batman?
It started in the public press.
Why am I drinking? What? I haven't said anything.
Sorry, John, what was that?
There is it's on the page, Jeff. I'm sorry if you missed it in the 122 minutes, but there is a scene with a press conference where they clearly acknowledge, a doctor, that this man has a unusual instinct to stop evil.
John just
That reminded-
insulted
that
the
reminded me-
moderator and didn't get a buzz. What the hell? I didn't even say anything.
That reminded me of all of the King Kong movies we saw where there was just a scientist that was like, here is where this monster came from.
Yeah, I need a scientist to tell me the facts about every monster movie, and I thought this one knew exactly what it was. It was the tone was fucking perfect. You're right, because I mean that was one of my favorite parts of this movie. They didn't show that at all. They just told me, and then the next scene he was doing it. So I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm on board.
Yeah.
That's also explained, by the way. That's you have to do homework, but that's also explained in Toxic Avenger Part 2 that Toxie has chromatons in his blood, similar to midichlorians, that give him his toxic abilities and make him a force for
I'm
good.
buzzing in for
Sorry,
midichlorians. Yes.
Jeff, you grew up in New Jersey. Jeff, do you have traumatons in your blood from being in proximity to toxic waste?
I will say I don't know anybody who got the swine flu from New Jersey, and we used to just say it's like we've had far worse. COVID really did some damage to that line of thought, but for a while we were like,
breath here.
Oh my
we were
god.
like, we live
Fuck the buzz. Where's the mute button for Jeff?
My God, Jeff.
Dave, what was your? You didn't have? Did you have a rebuttal to when you?
What was the
Batman?
question?
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave, what was your favorite part of this movie?
I feel like you went full Batman when they started ADRing his dialogue.
Ooh,
Full on.
okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's
yeah,
on.
it's
That's
good.
on par.
Because
Good buzz for that.
let's face it, we earlier in the week we complimented American Graffiti for its sound mixing,
Yeah.
and I'll just leave it at that.
Hey, he's on the negative side.
I can't-
Wait,
I can't
fantastic
fault him
job.
for that. I can't fault him for that.
Yeah.
There's
Wait,
some
but-
sound issues.
Matt, our expert on the Tromaverse. did the sound mix improve in the next couple films? Did they get a couple dollars to pay for the sound guys?
I think yes, but by part 2, Lloyd had a lot more money, so the sound is more even, should we say?
I feel like
more becoming of the
I feel
Toxic
like
Avenger.
By part 2, someone had introduced him to handles.
Okay.
It's like
Wait,
let the last person's dialogue run a little bit over so you get the end of the word they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is more like real life. People are talking, like another guy comes in, that's how it is, man. It's like Robert Altman.
know,
It's like Robert Altman. That's what it is. Yeah.
But when
It's
I
like
interrupt John, he doesn't stop talking.
Toxic Avenger is basically a Robert Altman film.
There you go. Yeah. It's the Robert Altman of New
Okay.
Jersey with
Okay.
some boo in it.
Matt, the Toxic Avenger gets a love interest who's blind. By the way, in the musical, there's a song called "Thank God She's Blind." It's pretty good. Dave sung it many times by himself. I'm kidding. So that's for me. Sorry, I'm just kidding.
Jeff
I'm just kidding.
buzzed
I'm kidding.
himself.
It's just a joke. I'll buzz myself.
It's
Okay.
the first time Jeff's buzzed himself ever.
Matt, how hot is this 7-foot toxic waste monster and his love interest? How hot is that relationship?
It's extremely hot. We
Yeah.
get a lot of sunset scenes.
Intense.
They make a home together where Toxic lives in the
Making a home.
toxic dump. So automatically now you're feeling the domesticity kick in. He takes her to bed. She likes his physique. One thing that she does is she wants to feel his face because she's blind. So she feels his arms and she also feels his little Toxie. And very impressed. So it's very hot. I mean, there are some hot Toxie scenes in this for sure.
What's hotter, those scenes or Toxie when he saves the old lady from just for whatever reason getting brutalized by strangers? What's hotter?
I think saving the old lady.
Yeah,
She's-
maybe.
Yeah, man, because you have that element of danger. Is she okay? And that's also like a fear boner that gets you there. Yeah.
She could definitely hit somebody with the purse. Dave, what do you think about that?
I did not get a fear boner over the old lady at all. Just gonna say.
You didn't. That's for you not getting one. I'm sorry.
That's for me lying.
That's not positive or negative. That's not
Sexist.
positive or negative. You
Ageist.
gotta.
Ageist sexist pig.
You just gotta be in tune with yourself.
Dude, I'm older than all of you. What are you talking about?
So she's just a lady to you, you asshole.
All right. Well, what?
How many
Oh,
how
this
many
is
left on the
disintegrated
bone
into
here?
chaos.
Here we go.
How many of us got some of the Young Frankenstein, Gene Hackman vibes from when they built their home in Toxic Avenger?
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. With just the
100%.
playing with the goofs. Yeah. Again, I know Jeff. I know what you mean about how it's not horror, but I thought they made room for some really fun, like cheese comedy in the middle of it. That just was such. I don't know. The levity of it was intoxicating.
Oh wow.
Oh, it was intoxicating.
It's
Intoxicating.
Yes.
See what I did
Jesus.
then?
We don't
Amazing.
cause puns here. Dave does. Okay, Dave
I
does.
do.
I mean, they tried, they risked, they took you to almost forced assault in a couple places. Like they really, yeah. As far as horror is like what's scary, I suppose is subjective. But as far as what counts as things that are usually horror,
While we're
they
speaking
really
about
tried to throw them all in there.
Okay, while we're speaking about what's scary, the German police officer.
Oh yeah.
Let's touch on that for a little.
I think that's Lloyd's not so subtle commentary on how he feels about the police.
Another Young
Gestapo.
Frankenstein.
I'm
Trending
so glad
towards
I didn't
the
get past
fast.
that. I fed you
Totally.
guys that one.
Right?
Trending toward the fascista there, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of really progressive, hip messages in this movie.
Yes.
It's got a great eco message. It's against toxic waste, big business, police overreach.
Good
It's a
films.
very
You didn't
woke
see-
movie.
If you didn't see those themes, then you didn't see Toxic Avenger.
All right, I have an idea. I mean, little did our audience know just like how much we drank during the American Graffiti segment here before we
A lot.
started recording this
A lot.
episode here. But why don't I do this? I'll give everybody, as their moderator here, I'm making an executive decision. I will give all three of you a little bit of time to give your closing arguments. Anything we didn't discuss that you would like to talk about, you can talk about it. So 30 seconds apiece. Everybody gets to say their
Is
thing.
this-
You
is
don't
this-
have to use the whole 30
Is
seconds.
this 30 seconds buzzer free?
Well, we'll see. I can decide at my volition here. So why don't we start with let's go in reverse order here. So I'll start with John. We'll end with Matt. John, I'll give you a couple seconds to catch up. So this is 30 seconds uninterrupted. Any meat left on the bone that you just needed to get off your chest? Any final arguments of whether or not was it really that bad? Your 30 seconds
Look,
starts.
in our
now.
Halloween episode, I said that Jason X was the Citizen Kane of horror when I was defending the positive side of that movie. I was wrong. I'm here to admit that I was wrong. This is the Citizen Kane. It is the Toxic Avenger. If you are looking for a movie under an hour and a half long, that's going to give you comedy, slasher, horror. If you are looking for that drive-in thing and you want to throw some shitty popcorn in your mouth and realize how much fun it would have been to have seen a movie in the 80s, this is it. Go back and watch it.
30 seconds, John. Well done. Pretty good. I have no buzzes. Dave, your rebuttal?
I'm going to throw this back, and this is not the Citizen Kane of horror. This is the Lord of the Rings of horror.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Lord of the Rings is great. That was number one. That was number one in our franchise face-off. Dave, you have 20 seconds left.
I'm sorry, it's exploitative.
Picking up your accent when you say
If
that.
you
John?
don't know they're taking the piss, but they are, it's crass, it's lowbrow, it's incredibly inappropriate at times. And what I mean by that is get a large
review or not?
What I mean by that is get a large group drunk and put this on.
5.
You bastard.
All right. You're supposed to be negative, but Dave liked this movie. All right. So go ahead, Matt, to bring us home here today. Thank you so much again for joining us. Everybody go check out the Matt and Mark pod. To bring us home here, your closing arguments, you get 30 seconds and go.
I'll just say that I agree with Team Negative and Team Positive, as well as our fair moderator here, that the Toxic Avenger is an experience, and it's one that is both positive and negative, as everything is in Tromaville. I would argue if you're offended by this movie, disgusted, the movie has done its job. It's supposed to be gross. It's supposed to have no limits. There's no Hollywood ceiling here. No one's telling you what this movie should be. It's a unique experience. Watch the Toxic Avenger.
Thank you so much, friends.
Jeff, what do you think?
I have no idea what the fuck I watched when I watched this movie. I was like, what is this goddamn movie?
We didn't even touch on the awesome fight scenes. If you just want to purely watch a beat 'em up movie, this has some killer fights in it and great practical physical stunts.
And some great stock by the numbers stunts. Yes.
Great,
not by the numbers. There's guys on fire. There's car stunts.
By the numbers. This shit you learn in stunt school.
All right, yeah, Jeff, I'm not gonna. This is
did
our
a
last
cheap
thought,
exit.
Jeff. I'm not gonna let you get away without giving me your 30 seconds on your final feedback after listening to two sides. What do you think? Give me your Jerry Springer final thoughts.
Who won, Jeff?
Oh my gosh, so good. Well, who won the debate was definitely the positive side, Dave. I'm so sorry to say. No disrespect to you.
Thank
Now,
you,
of course,
John.
you did have a resident expert, and you were outnumbered. Now, having said that, had we needed to get into this, I don't know the answer of whether I should have seen it or was it really that bad. I am glad that I saw it. So that is fantastic. But this was a very bizarre movie, a very strange experience for me. Even though I can watch this and be like, oh, yeah, that's Paramus. Yeah, it's Nork. Yeah, it's Elizabeth for sure. But very, very strange. But everybody,
the Geiger counter readings. Yeah.
My closing argument on the positive side, though, is this. It's an hour and 22. It's an hour
It's your
22.
favorite thing in the whole world. dude.
Okay,
You gotta
like
love-
I'm turning the rules.
The acting's too much,
fun.
and the editing, the cuts,
fun.
and the edits are so bad that they're good. The edits are so bad that they're good.
Okay, this is the poster child for it's so bad it's good. Like this is the horror movie version of The Room.
This is
It knows what it is.
Yeah.
It knows what it is.
Yeah.
Well, the Ruby you have to think about. You're like, wait, did that ADR even come close to syncing up? You know what I mean?
Are they
like
a vampire?
with this, all of a sudden they cut to close up, and they were like, you're like, oh my god, this is not the same take. This is take 5 of 7 of this weird, like, you know what I mean? It's like you can't watch it without thinking about the filmmaking.
But
I guess
it's
that's
so
fun.
much fun, and that's the thing.
fun.
It's something I've turned the negative thing off. So like, it is just fun. It's so much fun.
I'm just hoping the cast had fun making this movie, because there are sometimes you're like, man.
They did
are.
because they all caught up after they graduated acting school. Yeah.
They didn't all go to Yale.
Okay.
All right. Well, okay. I'll give some final words to our special guest here. Matt, is there anything else you'd like to say? You gave a great closing argument, but anything that has nothing to do with anything we're talking about, anything you want to say?
No, I just want to reiterate my thanks for bringing me on the show. It's been amazing. I started choking at the end because I was so choked up.
Thank you, Matt.
I loved all the love for trauma.
For the show I've been the drunkest on, I think. At the end of
Even more than
Holy
Speed
hell.
2, which was so drunk that we almost should take it down from Apple Podcasts.
I will just say that other podcasters, other guests, potential guests to this show, You will have a blast.
Oh,
Do your homework.
All right. Well, you've got to do our
man.
homework. All right. Well, thank you
It's
again,
the Matt
of
and
the
Mark
Matt
movie show. Yeah, Matt and Mark movie show. Go like, love, and subscribe. They're hilarious. I
Yes.
think they're gonna try to. Word on the street is they're gonna try to have a couple of us on there again. So that would. Be
Oh
fun.
yeah.
Jeff
Oh,
and
you
Dave, get on
all
there.
are marked for the Matt and Mark movie show for sure.
I don't know how to
Thank
do
you
without
so much,
drinking.
dude.
Please do my cousin Vinny. Anyway, okay, here we are, friends. Let's head out. Thank you so much for sticking with us, film fans. We are definitely going to be talking about A Quiet
So
Place.
I'm
next
sorry.
week.
Just quick thing. My cousin Vinny. Did you notice Mr. Marissa Tomei in this thing?
Oh, I
Oh,
saw
yeah.
online that she was an extra, but I didn't notice her.
Yeah, no, she was wearing the towel and she like walked through the scene and then came back out, screamed and ran off the camera. She was an
You
extra.
never know, friends. You
Yeah.
never know.
We all got to start somewhere.
What
She
a
won an
rapper.
Oscar
What a
less
rapper.
than 10 years after that fucking scene. Friends. Oh my gosh. All I'm thinking about is my cousin Benny now. Thank you so much for watching us. A Quiet Place 2 next week. And to go with it, we were going to do Toxic Avenger, so we'll have to talk about it. But join us next week. We're very excited to see you. Talk to you soon, film fans.